Hello everybody and welcome back to the vlog. So I've just come out of a meeting with a consultancy firm who specialise in the educational sector, and they actually came through LinkedIn. Well, I was messaging them on LinkedIn. I was that pesty guy on LinkedIn. Well, I wouldn't say pesty, I'd say 2 or 3 messages, but they actually got back to me, and I think the reason why they come back to me is because I was posting so regularly and also because of the podcast as well. So I believe it built a bit of trust. So anyway, I went to their offices, had a meeting with them about 3 or 4 years ago maybe, and yeah, we've been carrying out some work for them ever since. I think I've done 2 or 3 jobs for them, but we have traditionally worked in the educational sector, so that did give us at least some foundation to go from. The educational sector, by the way, is such a good sector to be in if you can master it, if you can work in it, and if you can perform in it, because it is a very difficult industry to work in, because programs are always tight, because you tend to only have school holidays like summers, Easters, etc, etc. So it is a strain on the project, and especially if they're large project values as well. So you have to be very, very, agile and nimble to be able to get them over the line. But budgets are readily available in the educational sector. It's for like universities, schools, colleges, etc, etc. So it was a really positive meeting actually this morning. Just looking at works that we're going to be tendering for this summer coming up. And also there's some project management companies or consultancies out there who, they invite people into tender, but you kind of get the gist that you're probably not going to win it. You're just one of 3 or 4 or 5, or you're not tendering off a level playing field. But this project management company are very trustworthy actually, so I really do think we could have a good chance. Another note actually on the procurement method of working with project management companies, because it's a traditional procurement method, it actually is quite nice to have the project designed for you, because obviously we work usually in the design and build procurement method, I suppose, and it's very fast paced. You need to keep up with what's going on. Decisions are being changed all the time, but providing that, and just going back to what I said earlier, the consultancy firm or project management company, whoever it is semi-trustworthy, and you're tendering off a level playing field. Once the design's done, if everyone's pricing apples for apples, it's actually quite nice, because there's a lot of work that goes into the design, obviously, before the build. But anyway, I'm very, very grateful for the work that we get in the educational space, because it does contribute towards our revenue year on year, especially every summer. We kind of put teams aside in anticipation for the summer works, so we are super, super grateful for the work. So I've just got off the back of another recording for Square Foot Stories with someone called James Hunt, who runs a non-profit plumbing and heating company. And that episode was like no other episode I've recorded. We went into real detail into his life story. Usually I focus it around just the construction industry and experiences and opinions based around the industry itself. But James is now running a non-profit organisation that focuses on helping elderly people and ex-veterans, because he is one of them, with just plumbing and heating services. And he's also got other things he's doing for charity, but he's been on a roller coaster of a journey through addiction with drugs and alcohol, into ayahuasca retreats. The tangent of the episode, it went off on so many different tangents, the episode. Just a note as well on the power of relationship building that you can achieve from podcasting. What other time would I be able to get somebody to come and sit for 2 to 3 hours where we can go in real detail around their life, around the business, around the construction industry? Don't get me wrong, that episode was slightly different to what I'd usually do, but having said that, I feel like I know James so well, and I feel like I've got a real connection, because I've sat on a podcast episode with him for 2-3 hours and gone into that so much detail. And whether you're using it for just expanding your network, personal brand, expanding the business brand, or whether you're using it as a BD tool, if you are using it as a BD tool, actually podcasting itself, once you've recorded with someone, if you can get them in a nurturing process where you can nurture the relationship, it is so powerful. I can't think of any other way that you can instantly connect with somebody on that level and in that detail and that depth as well. And then if they do go into a nurturing cycle afterwards, and you do try and obtain them as a client, not suggesting I will on this episode, but there are people who I have on who I do try and get in a nurturing cycle to get as a client. It's so powerful, guys. Podcasting in niches is so, so underrated. But anyway, just going back to that episode, I feel a bit overwhelmed, to be honest with you. I'm going to release it, and hopefully you guys will listen to it. But James has been on an incredible journey, and he's come out the back of it, and he's doing real good for the community. He's utilising his trade, gas engineer, to do well for the community. So, hats off to him, and I'm really, really happy he managed to get the trip down and come on the episode. Hello, everybody, and welcome to podcast day. It's Friday today, and I have another podcast. So I thought I would very quickly... Sorry, I'm just waiting for somebody. No, I thought I'd very quickly show you the studio that I'm recording in at the moment. Like I said, I am actually building my own studio, so I will show you that. But the one we're currently recording in, I will show you. I have my man Rich currently setting up. So let's camera, Rich.
How you doing, guys?
Love it. So this is where Square Foot Stories records as it stands. Like I said, until I build my own studio. Chair's very on brand, I think. What else I think would be quite good to mention is the fact that when you watch a podcast, you basically see this. But behind the chairs and the cameras, look at this, all this equipment. Bags, equipment, stands, lights, everywhere. A hell of a lot goes into the setup of a podcast, Like, we get in here, what, Rich, like an hour before maybe?
Yeah, about an hour to set up.
Yeah. So, I know I did one of these videos earlier, but I really want to start doing like really raw recaps of the podcast episodes I was recording. I've just recorded with somebody who is he's running a project management company in the industry. He's the same age as me. Like, he's a real go-getter, and he's worked for some tier 1 consultancy companies in his past, but he's running his own consultancy now. I think they're about 8 people strong from central London. But it was so fascinating to hear his perspective on the difference between working with a tier 1 consultancy compared to running a smaller consultancy and being able to be a little bit more nimble, I suppose. And he's worked on some humongous projects as well. But what actually struck me the most in that episode is that contractors, when dealing with project managers, the number one thing that they fail with is literally just clear communication. And as basic as that sounds, right? So I asked him in the episode, like, what, because obviously we're a contractor, so what's a red flag? And well, there was 2 red flags actually, but the main red flag was communication. Like, just communicate things clearly, have the hard conversations up front, because if you can't have the hard conversations up front, they're going to get even more difficult further down the line. The second one he said actually was a huge red flag, and I suppose this ties in with a lot of posting I've been doing and also a few episodes I've recorded, is when 3 tenders come in and one of them is just significantly lower than the others. That's basically someone trying to buy the work. And, we had a very authentic discussion around the fact that as soon as someone buys the work, the only way they're going to make money is by squeezing their supply chain. So, like, not only are they going to be letting down the supply chain relationships, usually it doesn't work out when a project's been bought, so they're going to be letting down the client as well at the same time. So it's a lose-lose. But, there's probably a further discussion to be had about that in terms of these bigger companies trying to keep the lights on. I don't think it's right, but who knows? We're not a big company, so we wouldn't know. But the third thing to note on this, by the way, is, once you record with somebody like this, I touched on this as well a couple of days back or in the last video, but it's so good to be able to sit and get really deep about the industry with somebody, and then you feel like you get to know them on a personal level. But not only that, after the recording, you tend to have almost like a separate conversation about the episode and also about things that you might not touch on in the actual podcast itself. But what it's led on to is just, me and Adam sitting there, standing up and just discussing about ideas that we have going forward and how we can collaborate, because we're both young people in the industry. He's the same age as me, he's 31. And, there's so many different ideas that I come up with where it would be good to collaborate with other young people, young leaders in the industry, or people trying to lead the industry, I suppose, coming through, because the current leaders in the industry tend to be people who have, people who are a little bit older, which is fine. They've earned their stripes, you could say. But I think we are yearning for younger leaders to come through, and me and Adam are sat there for like 5-10 minutes just discussing ideas of how we can collaborate and what we can do to try and benefit each other, ourselves, and also the industry. So I feel extremely positive coming out of that podcast, and also to make a new connection as well in the industry. Like, Adam's dealt with some huge hitters in the industry. So very, very positive. And that's another reason, again, I go on about this all the time, but I just love the podcast. I love podcasting with people, sitting down, chatting to them, getting to know them on a deeper level, and adding them into my black book, I suppose, of people and network, because you never know what's going to happen with people. Like, you never know what opportunities could come around, you never know what doors could be open, and you never know what you can do for them as well. So it really is a win-win for all parties involved. But anyway, podcast over, positive episode, I'm out. So I was actually supposed to record this clip yesterday. It's Tuesday today. I was supposed to record it yesterday, Monday. So I'm going to do Monday and Tuesday in this clip. So Monday yesterday started with 2 sites which are within close proximity that I went to go visit. By the way, what a dream, because we work all around the country. So having 2 sites that are close together that I can nip into quick is a dream. And also they're really, really good jobs for us because they're mezz floors, they're fit out ground and first floor. And we also have a sister company, by the way, who does manufactures, supplies and installs mezzanine floors, so it's good to work with them as well on these sorts of projects. But anyway, clients an absolute dream as well, really easy to get on with, really affable. I love going down there and seeing them. Site visits are enjoyable because when you have clients that are easy to get on with, it makes the project so much better. Anyway, so after that I then returned to the office and spent, if you know this, by the way, I spent the whole afternoon signing off suppliers and subcontractor invoices. If there's anyone listening, by the way, that knows a way to make that process smoother, please do let me know, because I run through all suppliers and subcontractors invoices and sign them off because people are cheeky. Suppliers sometimes are cheeky, even though you have rates set up with them. Sometimes they call it a glitch in the system, but you can get some rates that are more than what you've agreed. And subcontractors, just what they're like anyway. Some try and get away with it, some are fine. But anyway, I spent pretty much half a day running through all of that. And you have to do it because there's things that are missed. Like I said earlier, the suppliers sometimes might make a bit of a mistake and they might bill extra on metre squared for ceiling tiles or for plasterboard or metal, and if you're buying them in vast quantities, like that could be a few £100 on one invoice, so you need to go through it properly. But like I said, if anyone's out there who's listening to this, if anyone's listening, if you know a way that process can be smoother rather than physically signing them off, please do let me know. Anyway, today I usually try and schedule in at least 5 to 6 hours a week to train Claude. So I use Claude as sort of like my AI agent, AI assistant, I suppose. So I'm currently learning how to use Claude Cowork properly because I think it could be a game changer in terms of eliminating the need to do mundane tasks. So I spend, like I said, about 5-6 hours a week just training Claude, inputting information back and forth, trying to train it so it can free up my time to be able to do things which are way more valuable than like filling out adds and omits variation spreadsheets. Like, no one wants to be doing them. They can be done quicker and easier by AI. So that's just a small example. There's loads of other things. I'm trying to train it to be able to do all of our risk assessments and method statements. I'm trying to train it to do our proposals as well. It will just eliminate so much of my time and the team's time as well. So I spent a long time today doing that, and for the rest of the day I am chasing quotes, tenders, proposals that have gone out to clients just to see where we're at of them, really, just so I can update my CRM. And then tomorrow, Wednesday, when we've got our projects and sales meeting, we can run through everything in a little bit more detail. I've said on another video, actually, the projects and sales meeting for us is literally the most important meeting of the week, just to know where everyone's at all the time. Full transparency across the team. If anyone needs help, let's iron it all out now. Is there anything that needs to be done? Do I need to help anybody? Does anyone need to help me? Where are we at with sales? Where are we at with BD? Where are we at with proposals that have gone out the door? Is it close to coming in? Do we need to factor this work in, throughout the summer? Because we're getting close to summer work, which is educational work, which gets very, very busy. So yeah, the most important meeting of the week is tomorrow, and today updating the CRM goes a long way to facilitating that meeting, because I have to set an example as well to the team on the meeting. Because if I'm not doing it, they're not going to do it.
I've looked at the people that you've had on it, and for us, it's
do you know what, I'll just do it myself. So we started I started it concept wise for about 2 years ago, and then I took like 6 months sort of branding it and then pre-recording a load of episodes, and then I think I started releasing October 24, I want to say, And then originally it started off just people, owners of fit out companies and design and build companies. And then I just kind of thought it's quickly going to run out of people who are, number one, to put it bluntly, interesting enough to come on, who can communicate well enough, and number two, who are happy to come on video and share their story. So I kind of branched out a little bit further into construction, hence why I'm almost reaching out to suppliers and different niches within the industry, I suppose.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said earlier, suppliers is really one that I'm trying to that I was going to get on. So it kind of aligned quite well when Ted said that your MD could come on or wanted to come on. So I've actually just come off of a call with one of it's actually our fire door supplier, and the MD of, they're called Forza Doors, the MD of Forza Doors wants to come on the podcast, and I've just come off of a call with his marketing team just to discuss logistics, like what we talk about in the podcast, what the angle is, and it actually made me think that I haven't recorded with a supplier yet. And it was very interesting because the angle that I would like to go with it is the supplier-contractor relationship. Because as I said on the call, in our industry, all of the shit basically gets shoved down the hill. So, from client to contractor to subcontractors, all the way down to suppliers. So they usually end up with, well, subcontractors usually, but suppliers can end up with the wrath, I suppose, and the blame. So I think it's going to be a really interesting episode when I get them on to talk about, like the supplier contractor relationship, the restraints they have. What is a good working relationship between a supplier and a contractor? Because, I've covered so much on contractor clients, contractor subcontractors, but actual, material suppliers I haven't covered. So really looking forward to that.